Jake Brown Show, CBS Radio's Play.it, iTunes, and Spotify is where you find us. Jake Brown Radio, Jake Brown Show on social media. The NBA Draft Lottery is today, Tuesday, May 16th, and unfortunately you've been there a couple of years, but you've got some good pieces in place, and you've got a great head coach, and the guy who has all those is the founder of the Orlando Magic and the senior vice president, Pat Williams. He's in the building right now. Pat, good to have you, man. How you doing?
Hey, Jake, nice to see you, sir. You're all decked out. And if you could see this, folks, a Florida Gator shirt, Florida Gator hat. I feel right at home.
Well, here's the thing. I asked my friend, I said, hey, do you have an old Orlando Magic jersey? Because I know he's got every jersey. And he said he had T-Mac Orlando Magic jersey, but it was at home in Long Island. And I was like, oh, well, that's not helpful. So I did the best I can. I was just down in Florida a couple of months ago. It's like a $10 hat, $10 shirt. Mets colors. I'm a diehard Mets fan.
Well, you'll fit right in there.
Yeah.
When you go out to the Mets games, you're right at home.
Exactly. I'm orange and blued out. You have an incredible life, incredible story. You've done everything. You speak everywhere. You've drafted the likes of Shaq, and you got Penny Hardaway and Charles Barkley. I mean, the list goes on and on. You've written over 100 books. What's the total at? 103?
Well, the book that I've just given you, Jake, is book 104. It's called The Success Intersection. And it's really about when your greatest talent intersects with your strongest passion. Well, that's your sweet spot in life, and that's where you want to live. That's where you want to make your living. That's where you want to work. That's where you want to get paid every 2 weeks, right there in that sweet spot. And the younger you can figure that out in your life, the earlier you can find it out, the better off you are. So that's the meat of that book. It's just out, and I hope particularly young people find it to be helpful to them as they are beginning to move into their life work.
Yeah, and I'm going to read it. I'm 26, so I'm fairly
young. You're just a kid.
Yeah, and unfortunately my full-time job was laid off, so I'm in a position where the passion is meeting the talent right now. And I'm going to read it. And it's a short read. It's like, a little under 200 pages?
Something like that. You can read it in two or three sittings, Jake.
Yeah.
And if you went to Hofstra,
I did.
Anybody who went to Hofstra, should be able to knock this book off in an hour or so.
I don't know about that. We weren't that great in school. I mean, we had a great radio station, but it was a decent school. I mean, for $50,000 a year, it better be, right?
And you worked at the campus station?
I did for a year, my senior year.
Good
Should
for
have been
you.
longer. Yeah.
I did the same years ago at Wake Forest.
Mm-hmm.
They had a campus station, WFDD, and I had a sports talk show there while I was just an undergrad, and it meant a lot to me. I thought I might go into radio, but I ended up going into the administrative end of sports many, many years ago, but radio was always very fascinating to me.
Yeah, and we could say you clearly made the right choice, definitely for financial reasons and for success reasons. And you did play baseball a couple of years. You were in the minor leagues for a couple of years, and then you had a dead arm and you had to retire?
Well, my roots are in baseball. I went to Wake Forest and was a catcher there, caught for 4 years, and then signed with the Phillies out of college in 1962. I spent 2 years as a minor league catcher in their farm system in Miami in the Florida State League. Wasn't a dead arm, it was probably a dead bat. They threw nasty pitches down there, that broke or that slid away from you. And the Phillies came to me and said, we think you've got potential in the front office, far more than you do behind the plate. And would you like to get into the front office end of baseball and start learning the ropes? And I said, absolutely. I was 23, going on 24, and I said yes. And that led to 5 years running minor league ball clubs for the Phillies.
Spartanburg Phillies?
And 4 of them in Spartanburg, which was a Phillies farm club, and I really learned the business there. I thought I was going to end up, in a baseball career, but out of a clear blue sky, I heard from the 76ers in 1968 inviting me to come and help run their front office. And
at 28, by the way.
I was 28.
That's amazing.
I was 28.
I feel like a low life compared to that. Geez, 28 years old, you're running the damn Sixers.
Well, that wouldn't happen today.
Yeah.
The NBA then was a whole different world. For example, there were 4 people in the NBA office in New York, including the commissioner. Think about that. Today, there are about 2,500 all over the world. But Jack Ramsey gave me that shot, and I came, and that started this NBA career, which now is close to 50 years.
And, I mean, the success you had with the Sixers, you're really at the beginning there, helped them turn their franchise around. You were there 74 to 86.
That's right.
You bring in Dr. J and Moses Malone, two of the greatest players of all time. And we know Philly has struggled the last, 30 years, 40 years, but that year, 82, 83, you bring them to relevance. And, I mean, how did you do it? I mean, how did you happen to get Dr. J, Moses Malone, pairing with Mo Cheeks and Andrew Toney, and really form not was a dynasty, but a powerhouse team that year?
Well, it came over time. Julius had gotten into a dispute with the owners of the Nets when the merger took place in 1976, and he refused to go to training camp, and that allowed us to pursue him, and we got him. We bought him. The Nets were in financial trouble, $3 million to buy the great Julius in 1976. Now, that was unheard of money then.
That's chump change now.
Today it wouldn't matter, but we got him that way. And then the other pieces came through the draft. We drafted Mo Cheeks in 1978. We drafted Clint Richardson in 1979. We drafted Andrew Toney in 1980. So there was our guard line over 3 drafts. Then we had George McGinnis, and we traded him to Denver, and that's how Bobby Jones got to Philadelphia, the great defender. And then the big move was acquiring Moses. He was a free agent in the summer of '82, and we signed him and brought him to Philly. We had to compensate Houston in those days. That's how it worked, and we did. And now we had this nucleus, or really a mature team that went on and had a great year, and then swept through the playoffs, and including the Lakers in 4 straight. And that was '83, close to 35 years ago. That's hard to believe. And since then, we've lost Moses to death, and that's sad. Died young, but that team stays together. They're still in touch with each other, and they have a great relationship after all these years. But that team will never be forgotten in Philadelphia history.
Well, that has to be the best team that you've ever been a part of, right?
No question. No question. We had a magical year. No injuries, no slumps. I mean, it was just one of those years that was perfect. I mean, any time we won a game by less than 10 points, for example, it was a bad night. I mean, that's how strong and well coordinated that team was that Billy Cunningham coached. So, great memories of that season. We thought we could keep that going. We thought, let's go win 3 or 4 of these. It didn't happen. As it turns out, that '83 team had hit its peak. Every player hit their peak, and we were never quite as good in the ensuing years. But
did that contribute to you leaving? The frustration of not forming a dynasty with that?
Well, we had done everything we had hoped to do, and I had done everything in my career except one thing, and that was start up my own team from scratch, an expansion team. That's the only thing that I had not taken on. And there was a movement in that area in the summer of 1986. And some businessmen in Orlando said to me, we want to pursue this, but only if you'll come down and do it. And so I was forced to make a decision, stay in Philly, which was my home, or roll dice and move to Orlando, cold turkey, and see if we couldn't rally that community and then sell the NBA on it. So we took the shot, and down we went to Central Florida 31 years ago this spring. It's hard to believe. And we were, as it turns out, the next year, '87, the NBA brought 4 new teams into the fold. And that was a major step, and we were right in the middle of that. Miami, Orlando, Charlotte, and Minnesota. And that was a very, very big time in the history of the NBA. Certainly, it proved to be the right decision for me, because I've been there ever since.
Was it difficult to pull the strings to make that Orlando team happen?
Oh, it was hard. The biggest challenge was to convince the people of Central Florida that we could do it. They'd never had big league sports there. There was no arena. There was no real history of basketball in that area. And so that was my biggest task in that year prior to the NBA owners voting, was to rally the community and get them excited. And above all, get them to put deposits down on season tickets.
Get them off the beach in Disney World and get them into the arena. Yeah.
And the interesting thing is, we were asking for $100 per ticket deposits on a team that didn't exist, and there was no building to go see, and they'd never had Major League Sports before in that area. So it was quite a sell, but they bought it, and we went to the league meetings and said, we've got deposits on 14,000 season tickets here in Orlando. Well, boy, that got their attention. And I think that we just convinced the NBA owners and the commissioner that it was going to be a good addition. Plus, we kept saying, look at Orlando in 10 years, in 20 years. You know, the growth here is phenomenal, and it is, by the way. And, you know, we are rapidly becoming, you know, the fastest growing area in America.
How difficult was it starting up a new team and expanding, and then obviously 95 comes along and the magic happens. You guys go to the NBA Finals, but that process from, 89 to 94, obviously you had to endure some losing, had to bring people in the crowd, and people don't want to see a loser, people want to see a winner, obviously. So what was that transition like?
Well, we were a typical expansion team. We had a bunch of veterans that we brought on, but we knew that we were going to have to build through the draft. Our first draft pick was Nick Anderson from Illinois, who became a solid piece of what we were doing. The next year, we drafted Dennis Scott from Georgia Tech, 3D, and so now we had two nice pieces. 91 did not produce what we wanted in the draft, but then in 92, in
the big fella comes along.
Big time lottery. You know, I can't tell you the excitement of these lotteries. Now that was the year that Shaq was coming out of LSU, and we win the lottery, and Shaq became an Orlando Magic. And then the next year, 93, when the lottery was easy to understand, there were 66 ping pong balls in there. We had only one of them because we had the best record of the lottery teams.
41 of 41.
Yeah, and we just missed the playoffs, and we had one ping pong ball in that machine out of 66. Think about that for a minute. And darn,
0.1%.
Yeah, think about that.
Yeah.
And our ping pong ball prevailed to the chagrin of the NBA office because they, you know, the thought that this team was going to win back-to-back lotteries, that was a little bit too much for them. Anyway, that produced Penny Hardaway, as it turns out. So now we had Shaq and Penny and Nick Anderson and Dennis Scott. We brought Horace Grant aboard as a free agent, and suddenly, you know, we were contenders. And we got to the finals in 95. Looked like we were going to salt away a championship, but we couldn't get past Houston. Lost to them in 4 straight. And again, we thought, you know, this is just the start, and we're going to be around a long time. But as we have learned in professional sports, nothing is for sure. And the next summer of 96, Shaq departed for LA. Penny Hardaway had knee surgery over the next couple of years on each of his 2 knees, and never was the same again, really. And there was our championship run, and we had to wait, almost 10 years until we won another lottery in 04, and that's the one that produced Dwight Howard when we had the first pick in the draft, and that was the big man that we had missed after Shaq left, and Dwight took us to some wonderful heights. We got back to the finals, and you know, looked like we were going to be around a long time, but then Dwight decided he wanted to move on.
Those damn centers just leave Bolton town. Come on, the Orlando Heat wasn't nice enough for them? Come on.
Dwight decided he wanted to move on, and he's been moving ever since. You know, he went from us to the Lakers to Houston to Atlanta, still trying to find the right spot. I don't think he's found it. He was better off really in Orlando. That was where he was beloved, and he was. You know, that's where he could have, you know, gone down as a lifelong legend, but he elected to move on.
I want to talk about Dwight, but first, back to Shaq. How hard was that to let him go? I mean, what was that process like, and how hard did you guys try to bring him back?
Well, we tried to sign him. I mean, we were negotiating with him, and thought we had a good shot at it, but the Lakers came along and just blew us out of the water. They just made an offer that was way beyond what we thought it would take. When it got down to the closing days, we matched it, or actually did better. But I think at that point, Shaq's mind had been wooed, you know, about Los Angeles. So it was tough. That was very painful. You got at that point, I guess Shaq's 24 years old, just coming into his prime, and suddenly he's gone. That was devastating.
It seems like an irreplaceable piece. Like you lose Shaq, it's like you lose a foundation of a franchise.
Well, yeah, those kind of centers come along every 10 or 12 years.
Now, really,
they're hard to find.
This is a point guards league now.
Yeah, they've always been hard to find. But to replace Shaq, we couldn't do it. And as I said, finally in '04, this 18-year-old high school phenom Dwight Howard comes along. In the closing years, when drafting high school players was allowed, it's no longer.
Mm-hmm.
And we took Dwight. Lots of clamor to take Emeka Okafor from Connecticut, but our scouts prevailed, and we took Dwight. And as it turns out, he was a marvelous young talent. Started his first game for us that fall as an 18-year-old. Think about that for a minute, and played every game. And he was indestructible. Never got hurt. Great defender, rebounder, shot blocker. Those early days when he was just so athletic.
Couldn't make a free throw for the life of him, but hey, he could just throw the ball down your face and
he could
dominate the boards, and he was Defensive Player of the Year, the year you guys made the finals under Stan Van Gundy.
I think he was the Defensive Player of the Year 3 straight years, I believe. I think that's right.
He was, yep.
And
08, 09, 09, 10, 10, 11, yep.
Yeah, he was something else. Mm-hmm. And right now, he's 32 years old. His great days are behind him. His great athletic days. Still has his moments, but he's no longer he'll play some more years, but he'll never, the Dwight Howard we had from age 18 to, I guess, 27, those 9 years, he was a spectacular athlete.
Was there bad kind of blood when he left? Like, did you guys still friendly at all, or no?
Oh, I think it was, I don't know that bad blood is the word, but he announced that he wanted to leave. And then he changed his mind once and said, well, no, and then he demanded to be traded, and it was a mess. Mm-hmm. It was a mess.
Was that kind of like tough to deal? I mean, you also you drafted Charles Barkley, correct?
Yes.
So you've drafted these guys with big personalities, kind of big egos, and Dwight had that. So I imagine him departing and the back and forth was difficult to deal with you being the head guy in charge.
No, it was very difficult. Mm-hmm. We had a new GM, Rob Hennigan, had just arrived, 29 years old, and he was faced with trying to untangle that whole thing. Ended up making a very big deal. There were 4 teams involved, and we ended up with, Vukovic came from Philadelphia, and we got a number 1 pick from the Lakers, it would appear. We're waiting to see what happens tomorrow night. Mm-hmm. We got some other pieces thrown into the deal. So I think under tough trading conditions, the Magic did the very best they could in dealing Dwight to the Lakers. But Dwight went out there for that 1 season, became a free agent, and didn't want to return. Mm-hmm. And that's how he ended up in Houston. And then after a period, it ended in Houston. That's how he ended up in Atlanta. So he's been a wanderer. He's been a nomad, an NBA nomad for the last 5 years, which I don't think anybody would have predicted that.
Yeah, and since he's left, obviously, there have been some struggles. I mean, you go through Jacques Vaughn, Scott Skiles, and now Frank Vogel's there. Do you look at it like, is it frustrating? Like, what's going through your mind here? Are you looking forward to the future? Are you frustrated? Like, where do you see the direction of the Orlando Magic?
Well, I think there are only a couple of ways to build a ball club. Mm-hmm. One is slowly and patiently through the draft. Mm-hmm. Secondly is very aggressive in free agency. Right now, I don't think the top free agents are going to come to a team where the playoffs are not assured, for mm-hmm. example. So we have to continue to scout well, scout thoroughly, draft intelligently, teach and coach, and be patient, with young players. I think that's probably the wisest course, because you want to build a ball club for, say, a 10-year period, not a 2-year period. Mm-hmm. And you can make some stopgap measures, I guess, that'll hold the fort for a year or two. Mm-hmm. But and I think fans enjoy watching young players develop.
Yeah.
I think they enjoy seeing them come on. I think they enjoy seeing them get better. So that's where we are now. We still have a young nucleus, and this draft coming up is important. We have we'll have a high pick. We don't know where it's going to end up until tomorrow night, but and then we've got a later pick in the first round in what appears to be a very deep draft. There don't appear to be any elite super big men in this draft. However, there are a ton of guards. There seem to be a bunch of forwards, small forwards, and this draft should be fairly deep, on into the early part of the second round. So if we can come out of this with 2 or 3 young players to add to the nucleus, that should give us a good start. And then you've got to be patient with them. Most of these kids in this draft are 19 years old. I think the first.
It's the one and done era now.
Yeah, the first 15 players in the draft probably are going to be 19 years old. And you've got to teach and be patient, and you got to understand that they're not ready to come in and turn a franchise around, right off the bat.
And you guys have an 8.8% chance, 5th best behind the Celtics, who have, it seems like a plethora of picks, as they have the Nets pick at 25, Suns, Lakers, Sixers, Magic, then the Timberwolves, and Knicks. And hey, you guys did it with one ball at 66, so anything could happen. You'll be in the back room, I guess, where the ping pong balls will be going down. You'll see all the action while Frank Vogel patiently awaits in front of the TV set.
That's how it works. Each team is represented in that back room where all of this takes place. Kiki Vandeweghe of the league, oversees this. An accounting firm is there to make sure that everything is on the up and up, and these 14 reps from each team sit there in their marked spot and see it all unfold. You have to turn in your cell phones. You can't take anything in with you. The doors are all locked, and we get to see it. Then after that, there's it's probably about a 2-hour wait until the whole thing unfolds on national television later. But in the back room, we're watching on television, but already know what the results are. So it is kind of comical to watch.
So before it happens, they tell you.
We've known about 2 hours before.
Really?
Because it's all done in the back room.
Okay.
And then the commissioner or the commissioner's aide, is there. They turn over those cards, and you get to see these different people sitting there representing their team, and there's some big names. Magic Johnson represents the Lakers. Alonzo Mourning represents the Heat. Clyde Frazier represents the
Hopefully
Knicks.
Brings my Knicks some good luck this year.
How about that?
A lot of it, yeah.
So there are some very, very interesting names that will be there, but they just are waiting, and we're watching on television, already knowing what the results are. So that's kind of fun to watch these guys up on the screen.
Yeah. Do you like how the draft process works? Because some fans will say, "Oh, it's rigged. I hate how it works." Are you a fan of it, or do you think it should be changed?
Oh, I can assure you, anybody who says it's rigged, believe me, forget that. We're back there watching this whole thing, and I can't say that everybody in that room understands it, because after we won in '93 with 1 out of 66 ping pong balls, the league office said we can't ever have this happen again, and so the odds of those better lottery teams of winning are very remote, and that's why you see 14 as it should be, 13, 12, 11, 10. Now a few years ago there was a shocker when Cleveland plugged in at 9 and about a 1 point something percent, darn if they don't win it. And that is how the Cleveland Cavaliers have been built. Years back, they win the lottery, and who's there for them? LeBron James. Then they win another lottery, and who's there? Kyrie Irving. They win another lottery, and that is Wiggins from Kansas, who they trade for Kevin Love. I mean, that's how they put their team together, through this crazy lottery.
And it's working out quite well.
And it's all designed to keep teams playing hard down the stretch of the regular season.
But teams don't. I mean, the Sixers tank every year. Teams
Well,
tank. Mark Cuban said, hey, when we were eliminated from the playoffs, our goal was to tank at the end of the season. So teams are tanking.
Well, let me just say this. If the lottery wasn't there, it would be a lot worse. Because it was a lot worse. I remember vividly why the lottery was put in to prevent teams from absolutely doing embarrassing things. Because in those days, it was a coin flip. Worst in the East, worst in the West, they'd flip a coin. So if there's a Michael Jordan and an Olajuwon in the draft, both in the draft, as it was in '84, if you're in the coin flip, you're going to get one of those two. So there were crazy things that went on in those days. That's why the lottery was put in very, very quickly in 1985, and that was the. And they've worked with it, and they've done different things. In the first year, it was a turning device. There was a metal cage and had a turning device, and there were 7 logos in there. And David Stern reached in, and he's been accused that it was frozen, that the Knicks card was frozen, and he felt the cold card and pulled it out, and that's how Patrick Ewing ended up in New York. All a bunch of garbage, all not true. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. It's always an exciting time, and no matter who's in the lottery, they're always good players, and the higher you pick, the better chance you have of getting a really good player.
Pat Williams on the Jake Brown Show in studio. One of those players is Lonzo Ball, and obviously LeVar, his dad, has become more of a household name than Lonzo himself. Lonzo's on the board there. Say you guys get the number 1 pick. Does LeVar's actions and everything he's done kind of steer you away from drafting him?
Jake, whoever takes him is going to take him based on his talent, regardless of the father. Yes, the father. We've never seen in the history of basketball, I don't think, I've been around this league almost 50 years now, I don't remember anything like this man.
Yeah.
George Raveling, the old veteran, said LeVar Ball is the worst thing to happen in basketball in the last 100 years.
It's a little bit of a stretch.
Well, the game was only invented a little over 100 years ago. So we've never seen anybody quite like this. Outlandish statements that he makes, and bizarre. It's bizarre. But the kid is very quiet. I would say just the opposite of his father. But at the end of the day, you take talent. And if Lonzo Ball is the best player at that point, teams are going to take him.
So you're not spending over $400 on those new shoes?
I have not done that. Have you? I'm looking at your shoes.
These were $40 at a thrift shop.
Yeah,
so
you
no.
do not have Lonzo Ball shoes yet.
I mean, it's nuts. $40.
Is anybody paying for these shoes?
I think people are just to say they have them as a collectible. People who have $400 to spare. I don't know who the hell would spend that much money for just basketball sneakers.
And you get Lonzo Ball to sign them. The question is, really, how good is Lonzo Ball going to be?
He's got a weird delivery and a shot, but I mean, the guy is so young and just proved us so much and how much talent he has. He only has room to grow. But my thing is, I hate guys who come and play one and done because they don't have enough experience. They haven't won yet. I think they need 3 to 4 years in college to really be a great NBA player.
Jake, that is wishful thinking, my friend. That'll never happen again. And if I could tell you that coming out of Hofstra, you had an opportunity to have a 4-year guaranteed contract in the multiple millions.
Sign me up.
And you were going to be the voice of the NFL. You're 21 years old, or you can spend 5 years paying your dues, at minimum salary, and so you get a choice to make. That's what's the story here. These kids know that they're going to get certain guarantees, and if they feel they're going on the first round, somewhere they're coming.
And the fame that goes along with it, the women, the cars, the clothes, everything now.
Let's hope that's not the prime reason they come out. Yeah. But from the time they were 5 years old, their goal has been to play professional basketball in the NBA. That's been their goal. And now at least they have to play in college for 1 year. For many, many years, they didn't have to do that. They could come out as a senior in high school. David Stern was adamantly opposed to that. And we do have the 1 year now. At least you can see them play and get a much better feel for them. But people say one and done. Well, it's here to stay. It's now. Can we get another year sometime? Make it 2 and done? All of that has to be collectively bargained between the Players Association and the league. And right now we're looking at one, and then most of them come out if they're good enough. If they feel they're going to go in the first round.
Is there a player on your radar, or what, a couple players?
Oh, listen, our interim GM, Matt Lloyd, who has been our prime scout for many years, he has been all over the world over the last 12 months. Has a good handle on all of these, and I think he and others would tell you that this is going to be a good draft. Lots of good guards. Seems to be a multitude of forwards, and most of them, I guess you would call them wing players. Not much help in the center position, but it's going to be a very deep draft, and teams drafting late. The Nets, for example, in this flip-flop, they end up with Boston's pick down later on the first round. There's going to be a good player there for them.
They need a lot, yeah.
They'd much rather have their own pick back, but at least they're going to get a player down there simply because this draft is so deep.
Yeah, you guys have some great players in the front court with Aaron Gordon and Nikola Vucevic. Could probably use a little help. You have Elfrid Payton and Fournier in the backcourt, but could use a guard in the first early on there, and there are some good guards out there.
I think conceivably first 5 picks, maybe 6 picks, may well be guards. It could happen that way, based on what the scouts are saying.
A couple more minutes with Pat Williams. Make sure you get the success intersection. What happens when your talent meets your passion? Go get it now, and all 103 of your other books you can get as well. And find them on Amazon, and follow them on Twitter at Orlando Magic Pat. Does the lack of parity, where it's kind of gotten predictable in the NBA playoffs, where we kind of know it's going to be Cavs Warriors, it seems like, especially now with Kawhi Leonard out for Game 2 and what happened in Game 1, and they blew that 25-point lead. Does that bother you as a guy in the front office, and the fact that there's a couple of great teams and then some subpar teams below it?
Jake, I have to say this. It has always been this way in basketball. It's the nature of the game. So if you want to go back into let's go back to the late 40s, early 50s. George Mikan, Jim Pollard, Vern Mickelson, Slater Martin,
before my time,
Whitey Skoog. These were the Lakers, the dominant team, and you knew before the start of the season they were going to be there. Now let's go to the next era. Bill Russell, Bob Cousy, Tommy Heinsohn, John Havlicek, and this era of Celtic dominance, you knew they were going to be there every year. Then I'm jumping a little bit, but now comes Michael, and we had the Michael Jordan era, when Michael and his team were going to be there every year. You knew it. Then let's go to the David Robinson, Tim Duncan era in San Antonio, which was about a decade where the Spurs were going to be there. You knew it.
Mixed with Kobe and Shaq, yeah.
And then we had then there was the Kobe Shaq era. And now we're in the Cleveland era with the great LeBron, who's never been better, and that team that surrounds him. And we've got another one on the other side with those great shooters in Golden State, and then the addition of Durant. My point is, this is the way the game of basketball always has been structured, and always will be. And that's why, to have any chance, you've got to have at least 2 superstars on your team. And that's what everybody is striving to get. It's hard. There aren't that many that come along. But if you can grab one and develop him, more power to you. Give San Antonio credit years back when they took Leonard, who was not even on most teams' radar screen. And they saw something. And what they take him, 15, 16, somewhere in there. It's amazing. Yeah. But that's unusual. Most of those guys are taken, in the first couple of picks. So, long story short, Jake, that is how basketball is structured. It's the way the game is built. You need one or two good ones. That's not true in baseball. Certainly not true in football, where you need 20. But in our game, you need 2.
But Pat, I feel like the series just aren't what they used to be. The rivalries aren't what they used to be. When you had the Knicks, Pacers, Reggie Miller going up against Patrick, you had Lakers, Pistons. You had those just incredible rivalries, and now it's Cavs, Warriors, and really nothing else.
Good point. And listen, I lived through in my years in Philly the incredible Philadelphia-Boston series that took place regularly. Almost a ritual of spring. They were amazing. We had some other series way back. Baltimore and the Knicks had an incredible playoff run with each other. So that kind of runs in cycles as well. We may have something going with Washington and Boston.
We'll see.
There's a little fire on the moon with those
Wearing
guys.
black to the game. Yeah.
Oh my! There's something stirring there, and we'll have a dandy tonight, or the Monday night game. This is going to be a absolute phenomenon.
I think the game just lacks that today. I think we're seeing that it's like, a little sprinkle in there, but it's just not what it used to be. And I think some of these series were unwatchable. We had back-to-back sweep. The Warriors and Cavs just put the snooze button on and went through the first 2 rounds easily.
Hard to argue with that. They are truly the dominant teams. I think we all knew that last summer when Durant ends up going to the Warriors. And now, having said all that, I think we are setting the stage for what could be one of the most interesting finals that we've ever seen.
And this has become fun. I mean, this is a rivalry. This is what the game needs, and I think we can pretty much say it's going to be Cavs Warriors.
And both of them conceivably coming in with 12-0 records, which has never happened before. Think about that. We could have an NBA playoff finals for the ages. I think everybody who follows basketball is looking forward to that. That could be a finals that we'll never forget.
Who's your pick?
I've got to go with the Warriors. I think that they have something to prove. It'll be 7 games. I would feel. And how about this? The most memorable final go-round series in the history of the NBA.
It's hard to top last year. We might get it this year.
The most memorable finals in history. How does that sound?
I like that prediction.
Okay.
All right.
Stay tuned. And the Warriors win in 7.
All right. I like your prediction. Pat Williams' Success Intersection. Get the book. 104, you said? 103 books?
104, yeah. My high school English teacher, Jake, would be stunned. he would be rolling over in his grave if he heard this, but we're doing it, and there's some more in the pipeline. I've got a book coming next Feb 1 called Coach Wooden's Forgotten Teams. I've written 3 books about Coach Wooden. This will be the 4th one, Coach Wooden's Forgotten Teams, and it's about the summer camps that John Wooden ran for, I think, 18 years, and the lessons that we can take from John Wooden in the summertime. Nobody's ever really examined that part of his life, and so we've had a good time putting this together. And the book will be out. His daughter Nan wrote the foreword for us, and it'll be out, Feb 1.
That should be a good one. And you also 19 children, if I'm not mistaken.
We have a big family.
That is unbelievable.
Well, 14 of the kids we adopted from 4 foreign countries. They're all adults now. The oldest is 45. The youngest is 31. So they're all out on their own. 17 grandkids.
Do you remember all their names? Like, that is incredible.
I can do the names,
You remember all the birthdays?
We got the birthdays down,
middle names. You got it all.
Yeah, I could probably get it all for you.
That's incredible. Pat Williams, looking forward to reading the book. Good luck to you guys in the lottery. Just don't pass my Knicks. I mean, you probably will, but looking forward to seeing who you guys pick and how it goes down. It was great talking to you.
Well, Clyde Frazier will be there.
He will. And he'll be looking good.
Representing your Knicks. No telling how he'll be dressed.
Yeah.
He may break out a wardrobe tomorrow night that we have not seen before.
He usually does. He got a new suit for every day of the week.
Yeah, Clyde will look good.
What will you be wearing?
I will have my men's warehouse. It's a dark suit. I do not believe in ties, so I've got a black a dress T-shirt that will be underneath the suit, and I'll be looking good for you.
All right, I'll be watching. Orlando Magic Pat on Twitter and PatWilliamsSpeaking.com and the Success Intersection book. Pat, appreciate you coming in.
Hey, Jake, great to see you. Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Let's get a picture outside.